Hi, Tracy here with BibleJournalingMinistries.com, and in this video I am going to unbox a used Bible that I purchased online, totally unseen. So if you stay to the end, I'll also share with you how I find Bibles and how I evaluate them before I purchase them when I'm seeing them in person, and then also when I'm deciding on whether or not to buy a used Bible online. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this just came in the mail, and so the reason why I purchased this one specifically unseen is because it is the original journaling Bible that I purchased when I first started Bible journaling. So this one has this version kind of has a little place in my heart. So I thought, well, you know, you can't buy it anymore because it is no longer available. So let's check it out. So I purchased this one from Goodwill of Northern New England on Amazon.com. And the original Bible that I started journaling in when I was doing it every day is this one here, you can see. And it's so full and completely used. And so you can see it's the same exact one. And they have recently, well, in the last year, they've updated the version. So you actually can't get this particular one anymore. So I'm always on the lookout for a good used one, just because again, it's something that's close to my heart and something that I had, you know, really thought much about. So I thought I would just kind of open it up with you and flip through it and see what it looks like. So it's got a little bit of journaling on there. It looks like someone's done a little bit of journaling, which makes sense in a journaling Bible. And I'm going to flip through and see if they've done any more work in here. You can see that the pages are a little bit bent, which is fine. I mean, I expect it to be used somewhat. This particular Bible I paid $6.77 for, and I think $3 to ship it or so. So somewhere around $10 is what I paid for this. So it looks like the edges are a little bit bent, and bent edges do not bother me because, as you see, I do a lot of journaling, and so still, you know, the pages get a little buckled here and there, or they get bent sometimes or whatever. It's not a big deal. My goal is always just to really dive deep into the Word, understand it, love on the Lord, worship Him, and so I don't really worry too much about bent pages or crinkly pages. My goal is always just to dive deeper into the Word. So, and this is a creative way for me to do that. That's what Bible journaling is. It's a creative way for me to grow in the Word. That's why our ministry slogan is to grow in the Word creatively. And that's what we teach here at Bible Journaling Ministries, just diving deeper into the Word. So there's absolutely no journaling in here. So if I would have saw this at the store exactly as it is, you know, with just this a little bit here on the front for $10, I for sure would have purchased it because it's pretty much unused. I mean, look at, I just don't see any. Do you see any? Have you, and I'm curious, has anybody else ever bought a used Bible or a used journaling Bible? And if so, have you seen it in this kind of condition? This is really great condition. I mean, literally, it doesn't look like they took it anywhere. There's not a lot of dirt on it. It looks like it was really well taken care of. There's a little bit of smudging there that we can take care of with some paint. And the strap works great. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty much, you know, a very, you know, almost kind of new, very good condition type of Bible. And I think when I purchased it from Amazon, I think they said it was in good condition is what I bought it as. But yeah, it's pretty good. So when I'm looking for a Bible, and I'll tell you in just a moment how I look online and how I decide what it looks to, whether or not I'm going to buy it or not online, even if there's no pictures. I'll share that with you in just a moment. But when I'm purchasing a Bible, like face to face, like I'm like looking at it, the first thing I care about is what is the version. So what is the Bible that I'm going to be buying? And do I want that version, right? Am I going to actually use that version and read that version? Now, I have over 65 Bibles in my collection now. I have all the versions pretty much. Do I read them all? Mostly. I do have my favorites though. I tend to go NIV mostly, ESV as well. King James Version is another one of my favorites, and World English Bible is also another favorite that I use a lot. So yeah, I have my favorites, but I'm always looking to say, okay, am I going to use that translation? So the first thing I ever tell anybody when they're buying Bibles is you want to buy the Bible that you're going to read and use. I know that sounds simple, but really you don't want to just buy a Bible because your girlfriend has it or your friend has it or your spouse has it. You want to buy a Bible that you're going to use. The second thing is when I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it right now, I'm looking to see, how does it look on the edge? Because if it's really dirty and ratty on the edge, then it's a well-used Bible. And is that okay with me? A lot of times, especially if I'm going to be journaling in it, I really want something that looks pretty much brand new. Okay. Then after I look at the edge, I say, okay, that looks good. Does it have its marker intact? And almost 100% of the time it has its bookmark intact. Then the next thing I do is I open it up and I'm looking to see if there's any separation of the book from the spine. And you're usually going to see that on the first few pages. You're going to start to see the Bible start to separate from the side if the book has lost its integrity. So you just want to make sure that the binding is still intact, especially if you're going to use it for Bible journaling, because you're going to be like using it a lot and you're going to be using different mediums and flipping it around and playing around with it a lot. So you want to make sure that the spine is still intact. And then what I'll do is I'll go through it and I'll just, like I showed you on the video, just flip through to see what kind of markings are in there. If there's a ton of markings and the Bible's not very expensive, I may still pick it up. But if there is a ton of markings and it's not a cheap Bible, then I will put it back on the shelf, because I don't prefer not to be influenced by anybody's writing. So, and I also do not want to cover up anybody else's work. It's just a preference of mine. The next thing I do is I make sure that when I open up the Bible, it lays flat so that I'm able to do my journaling in it. And then lastly, I just kind of look through the back, and if the pages are bent, I'll look at them to see if they're really bent or if they're ripped. I prefer not to have Bibles that are ripped. In fact, I don't think I have any in my collection that have ripped pages, although I do have some that are vintage and getting old. But I mean, when I say ripped pages, like someone has come in here and just ripped out the page. I make sure the Bible has all of the pages it's supposed to have. And that doesn't mean I count them all. I just kind of flip through, and usually the Bible will open up, or the book, if you're shopping used books, will open up to a page that's ripped, so you'll be able to see it. And in fact, I'll show you, I have one in my stash here that has a ripped page, so you'll be able to see what that looks like. But yeah, I'll just flip through it, and if there's bent pages, I'll kind of see how bent they are and whether or not I'm willing to work with those. And again, because I use a lot of medium, it doesn't really matter that these pages are bent, because once I come over here, maybe I come on this page, I add a little watercolor, that page is going to get a little bit wrinkly and eventually flatten out over time, so I'm not really worried about it. So that's it. I mean, I also look to see if the little, if there's any attachments to it, that they're there. And this is definitely an amazing Bible for what I paid. I think the first time I bought this Bible, I want to say it was probably $30, $40. So to get it 10 in this kind of condition is exciting. So again, in just a moment, I'll share with you what I look for online. Also, real quickly, I just wanted to share a couple things with you from a vintage perspective. I do buy vintage Bibles just because they're cool. So I'll buy things that are like vintage on the shelf. And again, I'm looking at the same thing. You can see these are nice edges, very clean. You can see, there might be some journaling in here. I don't think, maybe not. I haven't done any journaling. Oh, here's the page that was ripped. So you see how I just kind of flipped open when you're searching for books or Bibles. If you're just, kind of flipping around, usually if there is a bent page, ripped page, you'll be able to flip right open and you'll be able to see it. I did purchase this one because I think I gave $1 for it, and the first page that was missing is just probably a page that has a gifting or dedication page, so I didn't worry about that. Again, with the vintage ones, you want to be looking at your spines. Now this one, let me show you an example of a spine that's starting to come apart. See this one, if I open this one up, you can start to see that book is starting to separate from the binding. So you want to be aware of that. You want to look at that. And a lot of your vintage books will separate from the binding, so you just want to be aware of that and maybe fix that if you want to, or, you know, use it however you like, but you can see that that separation start to occur there. Here's another example of a vintage one that I bought. I love sometimes I get really excited about some of these vintage ones that I find, because sometimes they have like people's old letters in there. It's just neat to see. This is actually not a Bible, this is a story. Yeah, the Bible in story and pictures. And again, you can start to see that, especially with vintage things, that they do start to pull away from the binding, and that is important for you to be aware of. But this one has amazing pictures in it. I just loved it. Here's an example of just a plain black one. This is an RSV edition. It's one of the first ones I started using when I was Bible journaling and didn't have a journaling Bible. You can see that it is vintage. It's starting to peel away from the edge. I think I paid $1 for this one as well. It does open up. I think I have done some Bible journaling in here, if I can show it to you. But you can see it start to peel from the edges. Like here's one where I did a time to sow on Ecclesiastes. So that one's just really cute. But yeah, you can use any Bible in Bible journaling. You don't have to have a journaling Bible per se. Just use what you have. And this is just one that I picked up, I think, for probably $1 at the thrift store. And then occasionally we'll buy some of these softback ones. These are a little harder because they don't really lay flat. But, you know, if you just happen to be able to get one of these, again, I get a lot of these for $1. I like this one because it had the red letter in there, so just for reading. But this one was pretty much brand new. You can see it's barely been opened. And I was just like, for $1 or $1.50, you know, I don't mind. I'll add it to my collection. I'll read it. I'll journal in it probably. Or eventually, maybe I'll run into someone that needs it, and maybe they'll be at my house, and I'll be able just to grab it off my shelf and give it to them. I don't know. There's all kinds of things you can do with Bibles, and especially ones that you get that are not very expensive at all. They're always good to give. And I know, you know, so we probably want to always, you know, give a nice new Bible, but sometimes we can't. It is not always within our means to give away new Bibles all the time. So, you know, when you have a nice used Bible, maybe you've picked it up for $1 or something at the store, and you run across someone that doesn't have one, you know, why not pass it along and share the good news?